the news is made, and as we go to air tonight, the Queen's Magical Mystery Tour bus has rolled into Melbourne town, and what a day it's been.
Oh, yeah, she was treated to the very best of quintessential Melbourne. She got to ride on one of Melbourne's famous trams without paying a fare, just like most Melburnians. Just fabulous stuff. It then continued. She got to visit the scene of the latest underworld killing, and she got to hang out with Ricky Nixon in his underpants. So, just a perfect Melbourne day.
Yeah, that tram ride was a real highlight for the Queen, actually. After Canberra, anything would seem like a highlight. The tram sure beats the transport she got in Canberra too, where, did you see this? They ferried Prince Philip in a golf buggy the first day, and then they forced them around on space hoppers. That is not befitting of the Queen's status.
No. But what's heartened me most about this royal visit so far is just how much the younger generation have gotten into it, although a few have been complaining about the old people smell.
I smelled them and they were so stinky.
True, but look, the kids had been loving the royal dress-ups too. Like, here's one kid dressed up as one of the royal guards, and here's another dressed up as Prince Harry. They just love their monarchy, don't they?
They do, and we saw it again today in Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne just loves a big event where people in the city come out together to share a united passion, unless, of course, the passion is for improving the distribution of wealth, in which case they're forcibly removed.
Yes, some fairly heavy-handed police tactics finally brought the occupations of Sydney and Melbourne to a head this week. I'm not sure why they were shut down. On the whole, it seemed to be a pretty harmless, peaceful protest. I did think their goals seemed a bit vague, but they were definitely pro-planking.
Yeah, but in Melbourne they seemed a lot more confused about what they were actually protesting about. Like on Sunday, this was their chant of choice.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
But a few minutes later, they seem to have taken the land back from the Aborigines.
It's a bit rough.
It does get confusing, but look, to be fair, the cops were equally confused about their role at times. Like, one minute they're aggressively dragging protesters away, and the next they were having a conga line party, which sends a very mixed message, I would have thought.
It was interesting, though, that the Melbourne protesters decided not to disrupt the Queen's parade today, which I thought was pretty restrained, given that earlier in the week she made very clear what she thinks of them.
Elsewhere in the news, Libya continues to celebrate its liberation following the capture and death of Colonel Gaddafi.
Yes, in many ways it's a miracle that they ever found Gaddafi at all, because he was a master of blending in. I mean, all his life, it was virtually impossible to pick him out in a crowd.
Yeah, well, he's always been such a fashion icon, though, hasn't he? So, some people did say his style was flamboyant, but this is the guy who pioneered the looks that became so influential in the world of pop. I mean, he certainly influenced Prince, for example.
He was a big influence on Michael Jackson too, not to mention Kamal.
Absolutely, and he even gave Lady Gaga one of her signature looks.
Gaddafi is certainly a huge story for the media everywhere, and in the rush of excitement, you can sometimes get a bit too personally caught up in the story, can't you? Such as this Libyan newsreader who threatened to shoot all the rebel forces in revenge, or this female newsreader who also struggled with objectivity, as did Channel 10's Natasha Belling. You seem to get very worked up about it, I thought.
Didn't know she was pro-dictatorship. In the rush to be first, though, a lot of the media did miss the real story. So thanks a lot to our big friends at the UK Sunday Sport who got the exclusive that beat them all, I think. Colonel Gaddafi was actually a woman.
And they've helpfully provided a photo of a woman there in case we didn't know what one looked like.
Of course,
I know. Now, elsewhere in the media, Al Jazeera ran what virtually amounted to a snuff film of Gaddafi's final moments, and then most of the rest of the media, they ran these bizarre happy tourist snaps of local Libyans visiting the corpses of Gaddafi and his son, who were on display in a cold storage meat locker in a local supermarket.
Yeah, look, I hate this new trend of storing corpses in supermarkets. Like, I was doing the groceries the other day, and I've got to say, the corpses are really starting to get in the way. It's very hard to get the produce out when you constantly got Gaddafis everywhere.
Worse than running into Kurdistan.
Now, look, this morning they did actually finally bury Gaddafi's body in an unmarked grave in the desert.
Well, of course it was unmarked in the end, because on their first attempt they couldn't agree on how to spell his name on the tombstone.
But seriously, I must say, Gaddafi's brutal death is a reminder of just how lucky we are in this country. I mean, in this country, the public humiliation and summary execution of a megalomaniac despot is done in a much more civilised way.
Yes, and for all the indignities that Gaddafi suffered, at least his final words weren't as cringeworthy and as embarrassing as this.
Folks, we've got a zip.
Meantime, while Gaddafi was rotting, the US President Barack Obama this week made the landmark announcement that all the US troops in Iraq will be brought home by the end of the year.
And so ends one of the major chapters in America's war on terror. Look, it's not a war I've ever really understood, so it sounds like another explanation job for the YouTube cats.
When the world watched the 9/11 attacks on TV, we were horrified by what we saw. The Australian Prime Minister at the time, John Howard, decided we should join America in the bombing of Afghanistan. The coalition troops were well armed, but as the fighting grew more intense, critics began to see the war as an attack on Muslims. So the Bush administration decided to shift the focus to Saddam Hussein and Iraq. After UN Security Council talks failed, the fighting began in 2003. Australia was once again dragged into the conflict and has been struggling to exit ever since. Critics accused Australia of just parroting the US policy. And as the casualty numbers in both wars rose, and as local Muslim civilians kept praying for peace, public support for the wars soon fell, especially after the Abu Ghraib torture revelations. And then again more recently after Julian Assange released a video of US soldiers killing Iraqi civilians on his controversial website, WikiLeaks. Labour power broker Graham Richardson believes Australia should cut and run before it gets mired any further in a war it can't ever get out of.
Stand right in here.
Yep.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions.
What I remember most about Hungry Beast?
Hungry Beast?
Nothing whatsoever.
I don't even know what that is. Is that a bad?
I think I remember a story about vaginas.
Vaginas.
Lots of stories about vaginas.
I remember a few stories about robots.
Robots?
And lots of stories about robots with vaginas.
Every week it was robots with vaginas.
Graphics?
Constant graphics.
Graphics to convey information.
Graphics to show us what vaginas look like. And graphics about how Google is bad for your vagina.
And those long, arty vox pops they always did.
Vox pops.
Oh man, those vox pops.
They just went on and on with people saying the same thing over and over.
The same thing over and over. With that reflective little music bed underneath to make them seem more deep and meaningful than they usually were.
They'd always find someone who'd suffered a recent tragedy or loss.
Or someone down and out.
And they'd always use this person to build up to a big climactic end where it looked like the person was going to break down in tears.
But they usually never did, so the segment just ended.
Unless someone mentioned vaginas, and then they'd end on that.
Welcome to Inside the Wheel. This week we're focusing on the Queen, who I'm told is in Australia, apparently.
Apparently she is, but the question is, why is she actually here?
Well, I'm not sure, but I mean, looking at the footage, I think she could be here for the council clean-up.
It's true, look at all the rubbish these people are giving her, and it's all straight off to the tip. We got scraps of paper, we got sacks, plants for compost, we got old toys. She'll take anything under 1 cubic metre except for white goods.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's really great that she's here to do this. I finally got rid of my crappy old armchair full of roaches, and very handy service it is. But if you're the news, how do you cover a royal visit like this?
Well, first of all, you need to slap on an ornate graphic, something that makes your news coverage look like it's been around for 600 years.
Next, you give your reporters a sudden promotion. Forget about
Our political reporter Amanda Hart in Canberra.
now you've got
10's royal reporter Amanda Hartwell.
So then you dump your royal reporters out the front of Government House, where the Queen stayed.
I mean, look at this. So many journos camping out around the clock. I mean, it's become like Occupy Canberra.
Next, you need the Queen to do something. And here's the problem, because while Australia takes a massive interest in the Queen herself doesn't do anything interesting at all.
No, in 59 years on the throne, she has never once done anything of the slightest interest, and I don't think she's about to start.
And naturally, when you've got someone that boring, you need to cover her all the time, live.
This leads to some superb padding.
The Queen, of course, will be also with the food. She's also eating Australian produce, and she will be, tasting the Yarralumla honey.
Yeah,
We were under the impression that maybe we were going to get a live shot of the barge leaving from Government House, but it doesn't look like that has happened at this stage.
I think we'd better modify that list of the Queen's reign.
In fact, some of the pad news become so boring that even the cameramen are giving up and going home.
One of the most remarkable things that she found with the Queen was the way she connected with her eyes and that sense of genuineness she had when she did meet people. So,
That's all when the Queen's not around, though. I mean, of course that's dreary, but when the Queen shows up, it becomes a white-knuckle thrill ride.
Oh, you're telling me. The first thing she does in Australia, she goes to an exhilarating flower show. And boy, did they have some exotic blooms.
We even have parsley, the triple curl variety. It is an absolute feast for the royal eyes.
Oh, feel the adrenaline! Oh, look at... sometimes you can have too much of a good thing, you can. And when Channel 7 scheduled a 2.5-hour show for the Queen's 40-minute boat trip in Brisbane, I thought it could possibly be excessive, but thankfully, the hours just flew by.
We did hear a rumour that perhaps there may be some special chairs that could well be on board the boat. We haven't seen any evidence of those yet.
Jean-Christophe, have you managed to see the Queen sitting on these seats?
Not yet.
What will happen to the chairs, Jean-Christophe, after today? Where do they go? Into a museum?
I'm not exactly sure.
Will they be sat on again? Are you allowed to sit on a chair after the Queen has that?
I wouldn't think so.
What do you need a special chair for anyway, Queen? I've given you mine.
Before long, this relentless live coverage was starting to wear us all down, and none more so than Kevin Rudd's poor wife.
The Queen had specifically requested that she worship with local parishioners, among them Foreign Minister Kevin Rudd and his wife Therese Rain.
She's aged worse than Julian. Look, okay, fine, none of these activities of the Queen are actually significant, but there was one time that she did make a fairly significant speech. It was good to see that 7 News treated the Queen's words with such respect.
Right now, she's about to make her speech inside Parliament's Great Hall, a historic occasion at Federal Parliament tonight with 700 invited guests. Let's listen for a moment to the Queen.
And develop at an extraordinary rate.
And that's 7 News for this Friday. I'm Chris Barker.
You can understand 7 News having to wrap up quickly that day. They had to go straight to Today Tonight so they could bring us this very important story.
Just when you thought you'd seen it all, it's on again. Parents forcing their young children to ride goats.
This is hard. The Queen has to compete with a national epidemic of goat riding children. How can you possibly make a trip seem more interesting than that?
Well, simple. You make up a moronic controversy.
Australia's top expert on good manners says Julia Gillard has embarrassed the nation by failing to curtsy before the Queen.
Millions and millions of people would be watching that, and there's Julia wobbling. What a shame.
Advice on how not to look like an arse from someone who stands around in front of portraits of themselves.
Yeah, she's not in the best company, is she?
Better stay away from drains for a while, June.
Look, of course, the whole thing was rubbish. The royal family had specifically said you do not need to curtsy when you meet the Queen.
But why would you listen to the royal protocols, Andrew? What would the Queen know about what the Queen wants? Surely it's far better to trust the Australian media.
Curtsy controversy rages.
They're calling this Curtsygate here in Canberra.
Monikers say they literally shuddered with embarrassment.
That is true. They literally shuddered with embarrassment. I believe we have some footage of some monikers here.
She didn't curtsy.
And the moral crusader most outraged by this vile following of the Queen's instructions was the always demure Karl Stefanovic.
I think that she should have given a little bit more respect. It's got to do with respecting the office. She's the Queen.
Yeah, listen to the man. It's all about respect. And Lord knows Karl is all about it, etiquette and decorum.
And my beautiful wife, Kat, she's also got the best arse I've ever seen.
What a shame.
Anyway, we've got 6 more hours of uninterrupted directionless waffle to give you about the Queen now, so I'd like to start by just carrying on about that cerise-coloured dress she was wearing.
I think you'll find it's salmon pink.
Was it salmon pink? Yesterday she had a sort of parsley-coloured dress.
Oh, hang on, where's he going?
Wait a minute, we haven't talked about the chairs yet.
Maxim King, ABC News, Canberra, 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 Canberra.
Thank you.
And it's my great pleasure and honour tonight to present the Logie for the most outstanding achievement in news. The nominees are ABC, the Sudanese genocide; SBS, the Jakarta terror blasts; and ABC, the Sumatra earthquake. And the Logie goes to the ABC, the Sumatran earthquake.
This is just a dream come true for me, and in many ways it makes the whole awful earthquake tragedy totally worthwhile. It's just been an incredible year for tragedies, and all of us in the news game are so blessed to have so much misery and devastation in the world right now. This award really belongs to the 480 victims who lost their lives in this tragedy. But I know deep in their hearts, they know I deserve it more.
A good journalist needs interview skills, and the most important of these is how to do a noddy. You know noddies, these things reporters do in interviews. Noddies can be either good or bad. Here's an example of a good noddy, and here's a bad noddy. Good noddy, bad noddy. Good noddy, bad noddy. It may look easy, but noddies also have to match the context.
I've lost everything. My husband left me. The police took my children away.
Bad noddy. Well, that's noddies. So remember, good noddy, bad noddy.
Welcome back to Online Journalism's Night of Nights. And one of the great things about the internet is how much it's democratised public debate in this country.
That's right. It's no longer just Piers Ackerman or Jared Henderson who get to voice their opinions in print. Thanks to the Have Your Say section underneath most online stories, regular members of the public can now also voice opinions, just as crazy as Piers Ackerman's or Jared Henderson's.
It's an itch we've been scratching since the dawn of time, when the early editions of the Bible also experimented with a reader's comment section. With mixed results, it seems, as of course did the early town criers in Regency London.
Hear ye, 10 o'clock and all is well.
10 o'clock is so gay, town crier fail.
Which brings us to this week's category, and we are delighted to present the Shembry Award for the best contribution to public discourse by an online reader. And our first nominee tonight goes to Perth Now, whose story about the alleged sexual assault of a female soldier prompted a flurry of sympathy from readers, best summed up perhaps by Common Sense of Joondalup, who said, "Get women out of frontline forces. They should not be in hostile zones. Stay at home and play with your makeup."
Oh, no, it's not sexist. No, that person's just pro-makeup. They gave the exact same advice to the US Commander-in-Chief, and he followed orders. But Common Sense of Joondalup wasn't the only person talking common sense. The Enlightenment continued in the Herald Sun with Gegg, who asked, what happens when a rat or mouse runs into the trench? Will they all start screaming and give up their position? I'm serious.
He's serious? Well, just how serious is he, do you think, Chris?
I'd rate him as 8 times more serious than Yahoo Serious.
Oh,
that's pretty serious.
But to be fair, not all the readers were against the idea of women in the military. I mean, so some readers were all for it, such as this guy who said, "Please put my ex-wife and mother-in-law on the front line, ASAP." Good to see Ugly Dave Gray in the comments there, and such a nice balanced debate.
Very balanced. Now, our next nomination tonight goes to the Herald Sun, whose story about alleged police brutality against a mentally ill woman in custody produced some touching gems. Darren Carlton probably said it best. Well, this is an easy one. The cops involved in this act should be given medals.
Yeah, Darren, they should all be given medals so they can bash the woman with those as well. And Darren wasn't alone in taking the Herald Sun's story to task. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. All you're doing is tarshing good police work.
Yeah, Herald Sun, stop tarshing good police work. You're just as bad as Natasha Belling. She's always tarshing good police work as well.
Yeah, but it's not just the women who online readers don't like. They also don't like men.
Oh, they like... No,
they don't like... Well, they don't like men who are gay, at least.
Take this story from Adelaide Now about Mike Rann calling on his Labor colleagues to legalise gay marriage.
Simple enough story that prompted this perler from a reader called Nothing But the Facts, who said, I have just looked at the Marriage Act. It does not discriminate against anyone. Any gay person can get married as long as it's to someone of the opposite sex. What gays want is more rights than the rest of us.
Nothing but the facts. Can't argue with the facts, Chazzy, but I'd also like to note Colin's comment on this topic. He said, stop legitimising sodomy, which I found ironic for two reasons. Firstly, by capitalising sodomy, he afforded it more legitimacy than it would traditionally receive. And secondly, his name, Colin, sounds a bit like colon, which is unfortunate for someone who hates anuses.
And so, for publishing the most misogynist, homophobic, poorly spelled bigotry on their websites, news.com.au takes out this week's Shabri!
This is a good ABC analysis, isn't it? Good evening. Elsewhere in the news this week, 5 years on from Pluto's demotion as a planet, it seems it's fallen on hard times. The former planet's been seen panhandling on the streets, raiding ATM machines, and perhaps most disturbingly of all, even selling itself for sex. The organisers of the annual Solar Car Rally fired the starter's pistol today on their all-new wind turbine rally. The car race from Darwin to Adelaide promises to be the cleanest car rally yet, if not the most practical. And a birthday with a difference today, as former world water skiing champion Jack Slippery Menzies turned 100 and celebrated in style the only way he knows how. Slippery put on a show for onlookers, attempting all his old tricks in what proved to be his final ever ride on the water. He'll be greatly missed. And that's the news in brief for this week.
Mr. Murdoch, you are aware, I take it, of these confidential gossip pages that appear in your Australian tabloids and online?
Yes.
And is it the House policy of Confidential to include every day a story on Megan Gale, Ruby Rose and Carl Sandilands?
Yes.
In fact, has Confidential ever not run a story about Carl Sandilands?
No.
Why then last June did your editor, why did she go a whole week without running a single piece on Carl? Were you aware of this?
I am now aware of that. I was not aware at the time. I'm also aware that she amended that considerably very quickly afterwards.
But the damage was already done, wasn't it? People were furious. Your website hits plummeted.
I can address these in some detail if you would like.
No, I want to hear what your father has to say about this.
We had broken our trust with our readers.
Carl himself was especially upset about it, talking about it on his radio show. He said, quote, Murdoch and his Asian wife can suck my balls. They need me more than I need them. Oh, and by the way, I'm a massive, talentless knob.
You never said that last sentence.
No, you're quite right. Unfortunately, he's not that self-aware. Thank you. That's all for now. Commercialism. While it's frowned upon here at the ABC, the commercial news media needs to make a profit. Except for me.
But the methods they use to make money are changing fast. Like autoplay video ads online. These are so advanced they can even complement the story they're attached to. Like the way The Age paid tribute on the day of the tragic death of Idol judge J.D. Springbet.
Some odours you can't ignore.
That's how I hope to be remembered. Meanwhile, on TV, they've taken things one step further with product integration.
What better place to interview a family whose baby almost died
Well, I'm glad that she's okay and you've come through. I know the family's here.
than in a McCafe?
Good morning, guys. They've done well. There's Mia's dad, Ben.
The McCafe is the new news desk. Just ask Larry McEmder.
The Aussie record holder for the world's hottest chili.
Of course, Sunrise isn't the only show to build a McCafe into their set.
Die, you prostitute bitch.
Your coffee, sir.
Thank you.
The trick with product integration is to hide it, so the viewer doesn't even realise the product's there.
Look, you may or may not be wondering why we're in bed. Accor is celebrating 20 years in Australia, and this is one of their beds. Now, a lot has happened in the last 20 years, much of it in Accor hotels.
Couldn't spot the product? Well, see if you can work out which company paid for this weather report.
We're here at Queen's Park this morning at the Muffin Break Marquee. They've got choc chip, apple cinnamon, blueberry. And we've got the band back together. The Muffin Man is here, everyone. Say good morning.
Have you seen the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. Have you seen the Muffin Man? He lives on Drury Lane.
Yes, indeed he does. To be fair to weatherman Steve Jacobs, he was referring to the actual weather that day. But promos are far too important for weather reports. That's why they belong smack bang in the middle of the daily news.
Ange, a big week, a very big week coming up. Indeed, because some of the country's best renovators have been recruited to transform property nightmares into real estate gold. The Renovators is being described as groundbreaking and a must-see for all homeowners. What sets this one apart?
It's just bigger and better than anything you've ever seen before.
And what sets this cross-promotion apart?
It's just bigger and better than anything you've ever seen before.
No, it's not, because I saw 10 News make the host of Young Talent Time an honorary reporter.
Here at the YTT auditions, we're not just looking for solo singers and dancers. No. We're off to Melbourne next. Don't forget to keep in contact with us on Facebook and Twitter and the website. See you soon, Melbourne. Coming after you.
Well, we will do all of that.
Oh, thank God that's over. Now we can finally get back to some proper news.
And new host of the show, Rob Mills, joins us now live from Melbourne, where auditions are underway this morning.
Andrew, pull yourself together, mate. It's not like I had to watch the episode of 10 News where they ran not one, not two, not three, but 4 reports about Glee. In that heartbreaking edition, Glee reports made up over a third of Channel 10's news time. Now that's the future of news.
And even the ABC's news programmes have finally caught on.
Thank you, Lee. And I'm speaking to the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, Anthony Albanese. Oh, Mr. Albanese, have you seen the Muffin Man?
Yes, Hoot. I think I saw him in a McCafe.
Now, before we go tonight, all of us here at the Wheel, we're very sad to see Channel 10's attempt at proper serious journalism with George Negus fall by the wayside. And I think George has taken it pretty badly.
Yeah, he's getting very paranoid. First it was the axing of his show, and now I think he's convinced that 10 wants to bump him off entirely.
G'day, I'm George Negus, and if you're watching this video, then it means that I am dead.
Prophetic, it's Pauline Hansen all over again. But the death of serious journalism was certainly something that Laurie Oakes touched on in his Ollie lecture last Friday. Laurie, of course, being the latest in a series of bald, overweight show ponies who've given the lecture in recent years. And I must say, he was a great improvement on some of the previous presenters.
Yeah. Lord, yes. Yeah, his was a thought-provoking speech, and I think the subtext of Laurie's argument was crystal clear.
Please sit passively and watch the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel is a dream come true.
And wasn't it fitting that after Laurie's 30 minutes of informed reflection about the state of quality political journalism, a 105-word story about his lecture was immediately posted in the entertainment section of the Sydney Morning Herald website, nestled among 4 Google ads and 5 video ads.
But sadly, Laurie's lecture just could not compete in the most red stakes with suds to the blokes. It's not over till the vat ladies swig.
That's it from us for another show. Remember, you can catch up on old episodes at abc.net.au/ Hamster Wheel or an iView. And be sure to stick around for David and Margaret's 25th anniversary show.
Yes, co-hosted by Jeffrey Rush, Kate Blanchett and what's left of Nicole Kidman's face.
Good night.